Hey guys, I'm here with Lydia. How are you doing?
Good.
Oh, you guys, the world is madness. Everything is crazy, and we wanted to come to you and talk about homeschooling today, right, Lydia?
Mm-hmm.
We've done this once before, and it was actually quite a popular video, and it was pretty fun. So I've got my coffee. Do you have anything?
No.
No? Okay, that's fine. And so maybe you are wanting to homeschool for the first time, or you have found yourself suddenly homeschooling in the midst of the world kind of going crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like I've been preparing for this moment because we already work from home and homeschool, right? And so we're like, you know what? We have a lot of compassion for those of you who might be doing this for the first time. So if you have decided, now this video is honestly not for those of you who are doing online school. I don't know anything about that, meaning the school has sent you home and is giving you homework. I'm sure some of the same principles apply, but we're actually going to talk about homeschooling, what it means if you want to pull your kids from school, start homeschooling. Maybe you've been thinking about it for a long time and you're like, this is it. This is the moment. Let's do it, right? Or you need to, maybe for health concerns, whatever it might be. So we live in Minnesota, so there are specific rules for homeschooling for every single state. So that's one thing you need to know. Did you know that, Lydia?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So there's not one national law. I guess the only national law is that it's legal in all 50 states to homeschool. The best thing to do is to Google homeschool laws and then your state name. But we're going to talk about Minnesota because I'm from Minnesota. So I'm just going to give you some guidelines. And to be honest, every state has a rating. And I've seen this really cool chart that's like green for easy, go, yellow for medium, and red for really difficult. Mm-hmm. And I believe that Minnesota is a yellow state. So it's not super difficult, but it's also not super easy. So in Minnesota, the laws for homeschooling are this. You have to report. You have to tell your school district that you're doing it. Okay. And I can tell you more about that in a second. You have to take a national, like a standardized test once a year. But guess what? Nobody needs to see it. It's only for you, the teacher, so that you have those results. And frankly, it always tells me what my kid,
hard.
It's not hard. Yeah, thank you for saying that. So, and it just kind of tells us what we already know, right, Lydia? Like,
Yeah.
it's like
you're in 5th grade or 6th grade or whatever grade you're actually in for this subject.
Yeah, and it just helps us go, yeah, that's what I thought. They are really good in that subject and they kind of struggle in that one. And all right, great. So you have to take a test. Now, again, I'm talking about Minnesota laws. You need to Google your laws for your state. What else are our laws? So you have to file with your district. So there's a reporting form. You have to take a test. Am I missing anything, Suzanne? That's it. So are some laws about how many, what years you have to report, but that's recently changed as well. So I'm just sending it into my district. We're still homeschooling. So in Minnesota, you can go to Mache, MACHE.org, and they have some really good reporting forms. They're only what the law requires so that you don't have to fill out anything else that's more complicated or takes more time. And then for me, I didn't even know what district I'm in. You guys probably do. But just look up the address of the district where you live, and you're going to send them a letter. Sometimes homeschool families will do certified mail just to make sure it gets there. I don't do that, but I do make a copy for my own records to make sure that, yep, I did indeed report. So say right now you're like, I'm done. That's it. I've always wanted to homeschool. This is my moment. I'm doing this. All you need to do is go fill out the forms, mail them to your district. And I would probably also call if your schools are still open and just say, hey, my kid's not coming back on Monday. I'm homeschooling. So that's the nice thing to do is to tell them, okay? Because we don't want to be, do you know what the word is? Truant, I think. You don't want to just not show up. That's once you're enrolled in a public school, then you have to follow their rules. But once you say, I'm out, I'm homeschooling, then you just have to tell them, I'm out, I'm homeschooling. There's nothing else you have to do besides officially report it to your district. Now, on that reporting form, they're going to say, what test are you going to use? And you're going to be thinking, I have no idea, right? So here are some ones you can look up. The CAT test, California Achievement Test. You may have already heard of it. Iowa Basics, I believe, is another one. If my fellow homeschoolers are here, if you guys can chime in and write these down, make sure I'm saying all my facts correctly, that would be great. Another one that we really like is the Peabody. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you want to tell them about the Peabody at all? It's very different. Is it on paper?
Kind of. Not really, though. Because she has these flaps that she shows you this thing. I can't explain it.
Yeah, it's it's almost like flashcards, right?
Yeah.
So she'll say something like, what's the misspelled word? Like A, B, C, or D, or which one is spelled correctly?
Yeah.
Is that how it is? Usually they don't even allow the moms in the room, to be honest. So I'm like, sorry, tester, I'm going to admit that I kind of am listening from the stairs. Some of my testers have let me, some haven't. But they just don't want me to teach to the test.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. But
I've never had to study for it before.
yeah, it's general knowledge, it's reading, it's spelling, it's comprehension, math. Yeah. And so we really like Peabody.
And if you keep getting something wrong, she'll go easier.
Yeah, so what it does is it keeps asking you questions to see, so it's not just your grade you're enrolled in, but they're going to keep asking you questions. So like Lydia's in 6th grade, but she might get 7th or 8th or 9th grade for spelling or reading. So they're just going to keep asking you questions until you get, I think it's something like 3 wrong.
Yeah.
And then does she go backwards again to kind of figure out, or does she just stop?
Well, she goes up and then she'll go down.
Up and then goes down again, right? Or if you don't do as well in math or something, you stop, same thing, and then you learn what grade level is your kid in. So I know some of you are thinking, gosh, that'd be like helpful now, right? But here's the deal. You can do placement tests online. There's tons of places to figure out where is my kid currently in their reading level, in their math level. Because a lot of you have asked me that. You're like, I don't even know where I would start. Don't worry. Every curriculum basically has a placement test.
Also, you'll figure out once your kid is like, I don't understand.
True.
Or this is too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of use tears as our gauge, right? Or Lydia saying, this is too easy. Like, she gets mad if it's too easy, right? Because you're like, this is boring, right?
Every spelling book ever.
So we just keep going. So you really get to gauge for your kid, where are they? So if you pick something up or you choose something online, then you just can gauge by, I know it's going to sound crazy, you guys, because I went to public school. I get it. The school mentality is very different than the homeschooling mentality. But you get to say, all right, Lydia, this book's too easy. Let's move on. And the crazy thing is so much of the beginning of the book is review. Mm-hmm. And then so when you get to the next book, you can catch up by doing that review, or you can skip it.
As much as you want.
Exactly. So backing up to the reporting, you just want to answer. So you can just say, all right, I've listened to Jen talk about this, and I'm just going to do a CAT test, or I'm going to do the Iowa Basics. Just fill it out. Don't worry, there's nothing you need to do right now. Then you're going to get started homeschooling sometime within the calendar year. You just have to take that test. Again, the results go nowhere, just for your own files. And it's helpful to me. I've liked knowing, where you guys are at, and it's just important. So not all states require this, okay? So that's why it's really important to Google your state laws for homeschooling. For Minnesota, people say, oh no, we have to do reporting. Oh no, we have to do the test every year. It's not a big deal. California, you have to have an umbrella school. So I don't know anything about that, but it's not that hard, because there's either private schools or churches that become your umbrella school, and then you're like basically reporting to them. But I don't know anything about that. So just Google your state and figure that out. So Lydia, okay, they did the legal stuff. Okay. Now is the fun part. And I have to tell you, did you know that there are like 1 million bloggers out there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they have been waiting for this moment. They want you to read their blogs, okay? So when Ethan was little, and it's probably when Abigail was born. So I would sit and nurse her, and on my very old, stupid phone that was not a smartphone, I don't even know if it wasn't even Google, but it was some Explorer World thing. I could I looked up article after article after article about homeschooling kindergarten. There are amazing writers who are out there writing and creating fabulous content for you. So don't hesitate to literally Google, I'm homeschooling my 4th grader or my 6th grader, or whatever grade that you are starting to homeschool. There's 1 million things out there. And guess what? The power of the internet has 1 million games and links and so many activities. So when you are officially homeschooling, okay, again, this is not, we are homeschooling by default because our school is closed. That's not what we're talking about today. But literally, if you're pulling your kids from school, there's so much freedom. So in Minnesota, as a homeschooler, you're a private school. So guess who gets to decide how much school my kids do, what subjects they do, and what they need to complete, what homework. Guess who decides? Me. Not some elusive school board somewhere in the cloud, there's no grade standards. I know we think there are, okay, but each school does it. So when you're a homeschool, I'm the school and I decide. Now, the reality is, if we're going to prepare my kids for college, like I did with Ethan, because I've already graduated one, what we did is we went to the college that he was interested in, and we said, what do you want to see completed on his transcript before he gets here? So that's how I'm making some of those decisions. Now we're doing it with my second kid. We're going to various colleges, and we're saying, what do you want to see on the transcript? Hint, it's easier than you think. Okay, now, I don't know anything about going to Harvard, but Elias is going into theater, and when we talked to his university and said, what do you want to see on the transcript, I was scared because I thought they were going to want calculus and algebra 2 and advanced sciences, and frankly, the admissions person just sputtered. And he said, actually, the ACT is more important. Awesome. So Elias is building a transcript showing who he is as a full person. He has tons of credits in the fine arts. He's got, leadership stuff. He's got experiences. So you can build your transcript more based on all of the things they've done. And colleges love that because they want to see really involved kids who are passionate about something, right? That's why we go to college anyway. So if you're worried about college, which most people who are thinking about homeschooling are because they think I'm going to ruin my kid, seriously, just email the college you're thinking about going to and saying, I'm homeschooling. What are your requirements for math? What are your requirements for science? And we go backwards. So we ask the colleges what they want, and then you work on that in your high school. But when they're little, you get to have lots of fun, right? So kids are naturally curious, truly. And we have found that kids want to learn, right? They want to dig in the dirt. They want to climb trees. In fact, most of parenting is like, be careful, stop, right? Or please stop talking about penguins or grasshoppers or butterflies or frogs. Remember when you were obsessed with frogs? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what did we do when you were obsessed with frogs, Lydia?
We went to the library and found a bunch of books.
We did, because I don't know anything about frogs. But there's lots of resources out there. So following your children's interests is key. And I know we haven't even gotten to I'm stuck at home and I'm working from home, but I'm trying to give you guys a really broad overview. And there's a lot to say. Like, I could probably talk for hours. We don't want to do that. No. But it's really, really important to realize your kids do want to learn. Now, parents tell me, oh, no, Jen, not mine. Okay, well, there is a process of de-schooling. So we all know the feeling of school being out and you're like, yay, no more books, no more teachers, no more dirty looks, or whatever there's a saying, something about that. So, of course, you're going to need a period of just like, let them get back to whatever they wanted to play with. Let them get back to their toys. Let them get back to, yes, even video games, online things. My kids have learned so much from YouTubers, from just playing games that they want to play, right? It's okay. So if you chill out just a little bit when you first start homeschooling and let them unwind from what they're used to being told what to do all the time and being on a strict schedule, and you let them figure out
and just don't do just school, sit down at the table and do school at home.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. There's definitely, we do that a little bit.
Yeah, but we don't do it every single day. And we don't have homework on the weekends either.
No, so nice, right? Yeah. Because what's the goal? The goal is learning.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very different than a school that has to control chaos. This is not about putting down schools whatsoever. But if you have a classroom of anywhere from 15 to 25 students, you're going to have to keep control, right? Like line up at the door, line leader, everybody sit quietly. Even the process of learning to read is to help the teacher so that every student can follow instructions. In homeschooling, my boys were both dyslexic. We could say, you know what, reading is taking longer. That's okay, because I'm right here. Writing was taking longer. I'd write it down for them because the goal is learning. And learning happens when the kids are super interested in it, right? And so, I mean, Lydia, you've been interested in World War II, in Civil War, a lot of 1800s and the pioneers. I haven't pushed that on you.
No, but I took a U.S. history class, which really was fun. And
Why, though? More. Because you wanted to. Yeah, it's super fun. But again, if your kids have been in school and homeschooling's new, don't worry. We like to say that it's about 1 month per year that they've been in school that will take to deschool. So if I was pulling Lydia for the first time and she's in 6th grade, if you count 6 grades plus kindergarten, we would need 7 months to deschool. Now I know that's going to make some of you panic. It's okay. They have to literally unwind. So don't tell me, oh, you said that your kids love to learn, Jen. Mine don't. Until you've done the deschooling thing, because it takes time for them to realize that they are leading their own education. Let's just apply it to adults. I got really burnt out in college, being told what to read, what to do. And so it was after a while, after graduating, I didn't want to read another book again, right? And I'm a bookworm. Yeah. So when we are forced to do something, we naturally need a break from it. So that's kind of that deschooling process. Now, the younger your kids are, the easier it is. So if they've only been in school for a year or two, they're going to bounce right back pretty fast. But if we've trained our kids to be told where to be at a certain time, and this is the homework, and school is doing what we've asked you to do, then of course that's how they're programmed. So it's just going to take more time. But in general, homeschooling is a natural approach. You've got lots of time. So this might be the primary problem of those of us now who are stuck at home, right? Too much time. And people say, what on earth am I going to do? My kids are going to be bored. They're going to drive me crazy, especially if you're working from home. How can you entertain them? How can you keep the schedule going? How can you make this work? So now we're going to transition to this, okay? So I think the biggest and best thing that I read when my kids were really little is, and first of all, my kids woke up at the butt crack of dawn. I'm sorry, I try not to say bad words like that, but it is the only way to describe you crazies, because we made Ethan lay in bed until 6 a.m. But he wanted to be up at 5:30. Lord have mercy. Wake up then not anymore, right? So it totally changes. So when the kids were little and they got up so early, I'm stumbling into the kitchen trying to get some coffee, and they're already saying, where's heaven, mama? And what happens when dogs die? And I'm like, children, stop. So we would often let them have a little bit of screen time in the morning just so my brain could turn on, right? But back to the thing I was going to say, though. The best thing that I read was give your little ones attention first. So when she was the youngest, right? So how old are you? 12. Yep. and Abigail's almost 15, and then 17 and 19, right? Mm-hmm. So she was the baby. I would try to give her, I'd read her a little book. I'd sit on the floor. I'd pull out toddler toys, because essentially you're filling up their love tank first. So if you're stuck at home, you need to work from home. How can you fill up the love tank of your little ones first? You've probably noticed this, or you can try it real fast. If you give them time and attention, you pull out all the Tupperware, you help them make a castle. We used to open up the spice store. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you would get to play and organize with it. Anything intentional, we are doing this together, then inevitably she'd skip away and play, right? Or she'd get busy with something, and then I could turn to the next youngest child. So it's much easier to have the oldest ones start doing something independent, or even make your bed, get dressed, do your routine while you're helping the youngest. And then you can go to the next one up, okay, let's work on your reading. And so Lydia would be playing in the same room, and I'd sit and help Abigail read. School for kindergartners, maybe 30 minutes a day. First graders, maybe an hour a day. Now, why? If you are leaving the public school system, you're like, what on earth, Jen? What are you talking about? But we don't have all the class transitions. We don't have the cleanup time. We don't have the wait in line time. Recess can be any time of the day, right? We can do arts, crafts. It just, learning spreads into your whole day. So the actual, what I mean by 30 minutes or an hour at the kitchen table actually doing worksheets is greatly decreased. Also, when you go back to the point of learning is the point, learning is the goal, worksheets are fine, but you don't just learn from worksheets. You can't even see it. There we go. We can learn a lot about England without filling this out, right, Lydia? Yeah. So they're still fun. It's not bad. But of course, it's more classroom management. Of course, a teacher needs them all to fill something out to see if they did it. We also need to take up those hours in a day. So to have the students, okay, get out your pencils. We're going to fill this out. We're going to do this. It's just a lot of learning ends up being classroom management, which I get. I totally understand. But at home, we can learn much faster. And I know that she gets it because we're doing it together. One-on-one is completely different. So that's why the time at the table is greatly decreased. Now, when you have littles, I usually did the tabletop learning first thing in the morning.
Yes.
So we usually got done before noon, and it would be lunchtime, and I'd look up, because I'd often be looking down, like with one student helping them, right? And I'd look up and I'd be like, oh, Lord, have mercy. My kitchen just exploded, right? And that can be very stressful, again, especially if you work from home, right? But just knowing it's going to happen really helped me. And I was like, this is just what we do. And then I'd be like, all right, guys, before we eat, everybody clean it up. In fact, we still do that, right? Hey, it's lunchtime. Everybody clear the table, right? So they're moving all their stuff. This is a transition time, right? You're transitioning from one thing to another. During transition times, I often like to turn on music too. So we like to do a lot of theater show tunes around here.
Or just Disney.
Disney, yes. And so we'll turn on music just to change the environment a bit. That way, after lunch, when we're ready to go back to studies, music goes down. It changes again. When it's dinner time, I'll even change my shirt sometimes, get into some more cozy clothes, or light a candle, or put on music. So having these natural transitions throughout your day will help break it up a little bit instead of it feeling like this eternity that stretches on and on and on. Okay, so we've been talking about little kids. Another really helpful tip is if you have older kids and you're trying to keep the little ones busy, I had bins of toys or activities, Lydia knows this,
yes,
that only came out during school time. So I actually got baby locks for the cupboards. So she couldn't get them any other time. And only when I was at the table doing school with the older kids, she would get out those bins. So then she was making a disaster on the floor, but she was staying near me.
We called them the characters because they're like little characters from like movies or shows.
Or
something.
McDonald's Happy
Yes. And I would
Meals.
line them up.
Yep. Oh, it was great. So instead of, because, sometimes I found her in the bathroom playing in the toilet. I was like, okay, we can't have this, And so I even bought baby gates. Yeah, you were really little. But how do you keep them in the same room as you, right? Because they have to be safe. Sometimes when she was even littler, I would just strap her into a, what's it called? Not a car seat, but a booster seat. And put toys on there. You have to be able to contain the babies, right? So they're not running away. But really that tabletop time shouldn't last super long. So if you're trying to work from home as well, how can you get your love tanks filled of your children, get this out of the way, and then when they're going down for naps or they're getting screen time after lunch, then you're free to work. The more you fill up your kids, give them time and attention, now they're going to scatter. And the ultimate tip is when they're bored, you give them things to clean. Right? If my kids, you probably don't even remember, because I got the boredom straight out of my children way early on. It's like, oh, you're bored? Oh, you're bored? Okay, you can vacuum, you can dust, you can have the broom. And even today, if I start I'm going to organize this cupboard or something, can't find the kids. They will scatter. It's a great tip. So if you need them to leave you alone, just tell them you're going to clean. That usually helps. Now, we do have chores, and I really suggest, as we're all stuck in our houses, what chore charts can you give them? Who can you assign what to? And make it fun. Turn on the music, make it enjoyable. We usually do all of our chores one day per week. So I think really important.
Dishes on every day.
We rotate dishes. Yeah. But other things like emptying the litter box is once a week. Cleaning out cars. What else are our chores? Well, you restock the toilet paper.
And paper towels.
If you have any. Is the joke right now,
I
right?
know.
And then there's daily things. So we take turns who unloads the dishwasher, who washes down the kitchen counters. Because as a working mom from home, there's no way I can do it all. And so as your life slows down and you're stuck at home a little bit, what can the kids do that you have done in the past? And making it fun and enjoyable is going to be the key versus dealing with the whining and the complaining. I think we're about to see our world slow. And so we're going to have more time for meals together. And we're going to have more messes too, right? More pots and pans and things to wash. We turn it into something fun, right? We turn it into time that we spend together. So just getting everybody to pitch in, making charts, not doing it out of stress, but doing it out of fun, seeing what age levels are appropriate for different chores. Lots of chore charts online. So you can just literally Google what age should which kids do for chores, and you'll find stuff. So now let's talk about older kids. So little kids are going to be needing your attention in the morning. Well, guess what? Now my teenagers, they sleep in. It's awesome. So I actually get up 5:36 and I get probably 4 hours of work done before I ever hear a child, which is glorious. So it's totally fine to let them sleep in. I love homeschooling to let my kids sleep, and it allows me to work before they're up. Now, also, as they're older, they can get started on independent work before they need me. So I can still, again, get my work done on my computer. Then at lunch, we join each other. I answer questions. We eat together. Then usually I'm done working. It depends on the day. But then I have the rest of the day in the afternoon and the evening with the kids. Now, some of you are probably wondering, like, Jen, legit, like, what can we use? So do you want to talk to them about Easy Peasy at all?
So it's school that's online, but not online school. So it'll give you, so my mom chose all these subjects that I can do, and after a few, it'll say take a break, so you have that time to do too. And but you'll click on it, and then it'll send you to another thing that's easy peasy still, and it'll tell you they'll tell you the assignments for today, and then I'll send you links to other websites that are like learning things.
Yep.
So it'll tell me to print out a worksheet and do that, and then like Spanish, it'll have me look at words that are similar in French or Latin. So, and like other websites, or like send me to a French dictionary to show me the similarities between words.
That's really cool. So this lady designed it for her own children, basically just using everything that's online already. So she put it into one place, and like Lydia said, I get to choose the grade levels for each subject. And there are placement tests so that you can figure out what grade level is my child in for math, and be able to set that for each child. So she goes to a login screen of all of her work for the day is right there. So go to allinoneHomeschool.com, check it out. I'm sure they're about to get flooded because it is such a great resource. Because in this time where we are all trying to do this social distancing and staying home, and I don't even know like what is going to happen on Amazon. Like, are we going to be able to order online? I have no idea, right? So what can we use online that's already available? Well, the allinoneHomeschool.com is free, and you can utilize games like stories. There's things that you've read. Like Lydia said, you can print worksheets if you need to. It is an awesome resource, and you can start slowly. It's totally okay to just start one subject at a time. Again, as we're all getting used to this new life right now, and you're deschooling, and you're giving your kids a chance to figure this out, and you a chance to figure this out too, you can start with just 2 subjects, get in a good rhythm, and then add more, okay? So a lot of this is wrapping your brain around. We do this differently. Homeschool is very different than public school, mostly because it's one-on-one. You go at your own pace. You do interest-based learning because the kids are going to retain it longer if they're interested in it, right? And so again, Lydia and I were joking about tears guiding. So if it's too hard and she starts crying, I'm like, whoa, let's back up. Let's learn it again. If it's too easy and she's frustrated, we can go a little bit faster. So homeschooling can really, really be customizable. Now, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to do 2 things. I don't want you to overschedule your day. So some people are thinking homeschooling includes like mapping out every moment of the day or every hour or having a really rigid schedule. I did this. I used to have schedules on the wall. I was very detailed in all my plans. And guess what happened every time? I just got behind. And it was very frustrating. And so as organized as I am, getting behind was terrible. It felt like this punishment. It felt like I was, failing. So instead of being really elaborate about my plans, I instead just started a journal of what we did. Because if you start noticing what your kids learn every day, you will be shocked. It's really fun. And a lot of tangents happen, and we can go with the tangents, and you just write it down, right? So all of a sudden, if you're learning about World War II, and that leads to Europe and a map, and all of a sudden you're making baklava or something. That's more Russian, but you write it down because now you just covered a bunch of subjects, right? So having just a simple homeschool journal, something that you just keep track of, is really key. So you guys, I hope I'm not just blasting you with too much information. These are kind of like the typical things that I tell people when they're interested in homeschooling. It's some of the main questions, but truly just don't overschedule. But then also number 2, don't have no schedule. So I've been seeing a lot of people talking online like, what if I'm not scheduled at all? How on earth am I going to deal with these kids? Realizing that your kids are used to a schedule means you've got to have an outline for the day. And we call this a routine. So it has definitely changed as the kids have gotten older, but having these benchmarks where everybody knows when lunchtime is, everybody knows when snack time is, everybody knows when screen time is, and then there's a lot of freedom in the other spaces. Freedom to chase what they're interested in. Freedom to just go play. Kids learn so much by playing. So having enough space. Now again, if you're hearing, I'm bored, try the chore tactic, right? I can give you something to do. Or try what we call strewing. Do you know what strewing is? No. So strewing is being intentional about going through your cupboards, finding things to do, and laying them out. Okay? And then actually the kids discover it for themselves. So when my kids were really little, I would go around and I'd put a globe on the kitchen table. I'd pull a book off the shelf and I would just lay it down. And I would strew a few things, not so it looked chaotic and drove me crazy, but it was for them to discover. This is very much like a Montessori approach, right? Like being able to, because if your house is so clean and perfect all the time and you have all these great resources, but they're behind shuttered doors, you know, your kids are either going to have to make a disaster by pulling them all out, or they are going to be bored. So making sure that you even have, we always kept toys very near the kitchen because I feel like so much of the home is in the kitchen and at the kitchen table. So to be able to have toddler toys right here, not in the basement, right? You're going to give yourself a lot more work when you have to go to the toy room in the basement, or you have to, you know, monitor the baby and the toddler. Like, it doesn't even make sense. So how can you rearrange your house a little bit to have a kitchen set in the family room? And it might not be as aesthetically pleasing, but it's going to be a lot more functional. So the two things to warn you against is overstructuring and understructuring. So what outline can you have for the day so that kids understand what's coming up? A lot of young kids, we had to do pictures, especially because my boys struggled with reading. So I would write the time of day, and then I would write a picture of us eating cereal or whatever. And we had to do have a picture chart, because most kids, they want to know what's coming. And when they know, nope, we're not doing anything till lunch, then they'll go play, they'll go explore. And that's when you sneak in work. So I have had to adjust my working schedule based on the kids' ages. Now, depending on your job, if you own your own company, you're going to have a lot more freedom, obviously, right? And you're going to be able to determine your work schedule. So when the kids were little, I would put them to bed. I would work at night. I would work during nap time. I would work during screen time. Now that they're older, I go to bed first. They stay up. I skip out on the late night TV watching with daddy because I don't care. And I've got to get ahead so that I can wake up super early, get several hours of work done before they're up. I hope this time was helpful. Post questions below and we can pop in and answer. Lydia, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
It's always more fun with you.